What's happening, R Squad? Pastor Joey here, and I want to introduce you to a very special friend that is going to be hanging out with us through this new series called Wired, Willie the Toaster. And Willie the Toaster and I, along with you, we're going to go on some adventures to see what it is that Willie's really designed for, but can we use him for some other things? So this morning, we're going to cook breakfast. Now, I know what you're thinking. Joey, toasters are supposed to cook breakfast. But I want to see if we can push the bounds of Willie the Toaster and cook an entire breakfast inside of him. I'm going to start out with a little bit of steak, one of my favorite breakfasts. And I'm going to cut this up into some pieces just like this. Cut that up. There, get it in there. We're going to take this, we're just going to stick it down here in the toaster because I like a little bit of extra meat in my steak and eggs. We're probably full there. Now, what else you gotta have? You gotta have eggs, of course. So what are we gonna do here? We're just gonna take the eggs, we're gonna put them right in Willie the Toaster. Boom! That made a little bit of a mess. Boom. All right, so make sure we're gonna let our egg we can down in there. And you can't do steak and eggs without some cheese. Let me show you how the real chefs do it. A little bit of this actually, but that barely worked. Okay. Now, Willie is all set and ready to cook me a great breakfast. Now all we gotta do is take Willie the Toaster and plug him in.
Joey Todd, you're not doing that in my kitchen.
All right, bye honey, love you. Bye, see you later. We're back in business, let's go. Okay, now, take this. Oh, real quick, kids, don't try this at home. Boom, we're gonna turn it all the way up because we need it fast, we need it cooking fast. And we crank it up. Now see, let's see if Willie the Toaster has what it takes to be able to cook an entire breakfast. You smell that? It smells terrible, actually. Oh man, that's awful. That's terrible. Yeah, that's, yep, okay. That's real bad. Yeah, so we got a little problem here. We've got a full-fledged fire in the toaster. Got to make sure that you have your hero preparedness fire blanket ready at all times. Okay, step one, everybody, if you ever have a toaster fire, Willie, I'm gonna save you, don't worry. We're gonna unplug like that, and then we're gonna smother the fire. Smother the fire. Smother it. Smother it. It's still smoking. It's Okay. All right, here we go. And don't worry, Willie. Don't worry, Willie. We're gonna save you. Fire's out. We're good. Hey, we might need to open a window in the house. It stinks a lot. There we go. All right, everybody. We're good. We saved Willie. He seems to still be intact. We got to get him cleaned up a little bit though, because he stinks terribly, and yeah, it's a little rough. So let's go in there and clean him up. We're gonna give Willie a little bath here. Also, this is not how you clean a toaster, by the way. Just FYI, don't do this at home. There he is, coming right back to life, folks. Awesome. That's all it is. All you gotta do. Well, our squad, here we are. Willie the Toaster is safe and sound. But one of the things I want us to look at is this: Willie the Toaster is designed for very few things. Toast, Pop-Tarts, Eggos, bagels. It's about it. That's about it. Now, what the problem here was that I tried to use Willie for something he was never designed for. And when we look at our own lives, oftentimes that's how we try to live our lives. That God has created us uniquely in our own form and fashion, handcrafted by Him. And with our design and who we are, oftentimes we will do things in our life that is opposite of what God actually designed us for. And that's what this series is about. God has wired us a specific way that shows us the greatness of who He is, but also helps us find our own purpose. That's how we're wired, right? And so what I want us to look at is some really cool things that help us with our identity and how God created us to be. So here's the big truth. You were wired on purpose. You were designed by God for something specific and meaningful. I'm gonna leave that up there on the screen for just a minute. You were wired on purpose. You were designed by God for something specific and meaningful. One of the passages that we're going to look at today is Psalm 139, 13 through 16. And here's what it says. You made all the delicate inner parts of my body and knit me together in my mother's womb. Thank you for making me so wonderfully complex. Your workmanship is marvelous. How well I know it. The great part of this passage is it affirms this, is that you and I, we're not accidents. We were created by a designer for a purpose. In culture and in life and at school, you're going to hear things like, hey, we're just biology. Hey, we're just an amalgamation of cells, a bag of skin walking around here, and really we don't have a purpose. We're just a part of an evolutionary process. But see, God's word tells us that it's very, very different. That in fact, you were created for a purpose. That God has an attention to detail in that passage of scripture. You made all my delicate inner parts. The complexity of the cell itself. The complexity of DNA, which we've only discovered in the last 40, 50 years. All of those things were handcrafted and made by God. You were given an incredible attention to detail when you were made. He also says that you're wonderfully complex, right? You're not basic, you're layered, that there are complexities to your design. And that you're literally, I love this, your workmanship is marvelous, is what he says. And it's the picture and the image of a craftsman, someone who takes something and makes it by hand. And whether they're wood carving a beautiful statue, or they're taking a dish, a culinary dish, not like what we cooked here today, but a chef and his expertise, and he's using his hand to present it. It's that kind of a picture that God gave that sort of attention and detail to you. Here's another passage I want us to look at, Jeremiah 1 verse 5, and here's what it says. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. I want you to think about that for just a second. In those moments where you're thinking, nobody knows me, nobody cares, God tells us that he knew you before you were even born. Before you were born, I set you apart. Now, what does this mean? This means that you weren't just born. You were appointed, set apart. You have a divine assignment. That there is something that God has for you specifically in your life. A lot of times we spend our days, especially you later high schools, what am I going to do with my life? What am I going to do with my life? Did you know that God has a specific plan for you? How to use your gift, skills, talents, and abilities the way that he's created them for you to do something great. But it's hard for us to see it right now. I remember when I was in elementary school, and it just seemed like with all of my friends, I was always the shortest and most unathletic. And I remember just sitting there laying there in my bed at night praying like, God, just help me to grow taller, because I wanted to be able to play basketball. I want to be able to play basketball like my friends and get up and block shots and do all these things. I mean, that's what I wanted. I wanted to be an athlete and I wanted to be very athletic, but here's the problem. I was not like at all athletic, okay? And so I'm in this identity crisis as I go into middle school trying to figure out who I am. And then I realized one day that God never intended for me to be an athlete. I remember I was in high school and it hit me because I was really deep into music, played drums, was playing with a great band. And then I realized, wait a minute, why am I spending my time wishing I was an athlete when I am a musician? And God used that part of my life, that music experience, to mold and shape me into the pastor that I am today. Because believe it or not, the first time I started helping out in church was actually playing the drums. So God took that assignment he had for me. I didn't know anything about it. I was looking at why am I not an athlete? And he's like, hey, I have something here bigger and greater for you, something I've designed you to do and to be. So, few things. One, you're not an accident. No matter what anybody tells you, no matter what anybody says, you are not an accident. You are God handcrafted with care and intention. Here's the second one. You were wired uniquely. Your personal strengths, your passions, they reflect your design. No two people are just alike. Even identical twins have differences. Why? Because you were uniquely created by God. Here's the third one. We live outside our wiring, things don't work. We're like Willie the Toaster trying to cook an entire breakfast at one time. We get jammed up and it goes to fire and it goes to all kinds of problems, right? You were created to live within the wiring that God has given you. So here's what I've got. I've got some reflection questions that I'm gonna put up on the screen, and they're gonna stay there. I want you to write these down, snap a picture of them with your phone, put them in your notes, however you wanna do it. But I want you to take these 3 questions for the next few minutes and ponder those before you break off into your small groups. We'll see you next week.